The Criminal Code 1893, Crimes Against Morality, was a document set in Crown law to prohibit homosexuality. In 1984, young Labour MP Fran Wilde played a pivotal role as an advocate for social change in New Zealand. Our own professor in history, Peter Lineham, recently spoke to us about Fran Wilde.
Fran Wilde played such a significant role in the development of the homosexual law reform. You have to recall that 10 years before there'd been an exactly identical attempt to introduce law reform, which had failed. And for lots of reasons, the politics made it difficult because it was bound to be controversial, and it needed a Member of Parliament to stand up and prepared to fight it through. So that's why Fran Wilde is significant, that as a person who was not LGBT herself, she chose to make this issue her crusade. Now that's pretty significant.
A bill stands in the name of Fran Wilde.
Mr. Speaker, I move that leave be given to introduce the Homosexual Law Reform Bill. Mr. Speaker, at the outset I want to make it quite clear that this bill is not a government or party measure. It is a private member's bill, and as such I would ask all members to listen to the debate and the issues carefully and to make their decision on the information, the real information.
A lot of gay people at that stage was kind of undercover because it was too dangerous to come out. And I think what was significant about this bill is that it made the space for those of us who were shy about our sexuality to become more open about it.
The final vote was 49 in favour of the bill, 44 against, a majority of 5. Fran Wilde, the bill's promoter, says getting the bill through Parliament has not won all the battles for the homosexual community.
I think there has been a change of attitudes during the bill. The Halen polls have shown increasing support for the bill as the last year or so have gone on, but there is still a proportion of New Zealanders who will vilify and hate homosexual people, and I think that as a community that is not a healthy outlook, and we should try and educate people.
Massey University recently held an event to celebrate 30 years since the passing of the Homosexual Law Reform Bill. The special guest speaker was Fran Wilde, and we sat down with her to discuss how things have changed.
There are still some really serious issues for LGBT community. I particularly worry about younger people. I think there's bullying going on in schools, and it's very hard for some parents to come to terms with their kids' sexuality, and I think we need a lot more focus and discussion about that to support those families and those kids.
Look, I don't think we can take for granted that hostility to very variable sexualities has gone. Simple fact is that normal is still a very, very powerful theme in schools, among young people, and probably in the great mass of population. So there's a continual need to re-educate, to re-inform, to kind of re-inspire people with this story.
It gave me a lot more time in my life. Frankly, it was great when it was over. We knew we'd won, so all of the other social issues that were kind of intertwined with this, we knew were pretty safe, which was a great feeling. Right up to the last minute we were counting the votes. It was such a strongly emotional thing for some of the MPs that we had to be very careful that we didn't lose any, or some people might not have turned up in the House that night. So yes, right up to the last minute we were actually making sure that our votes were there.
So it's come gradually and not without long pauses and lots of debates, but really there has been a tremendous shift of attitudes in New Zealand. So that New Zealand, which was once rather slow to get into equal rights, has now become, I think, right up there along with other social leaders.
Well, the first thing is that if you're a gay man, you're now not a criminal, and I think that was pretty important, and that from that has flowed all of the other progresses that we've made. I mean, the thought now of Prime Ministers going to Big Day Out, you would never have had that sort of thing in those days. So quite honestly, It is radically different now from how it was then. There are still issues, as I said, young people, transgender people, and really the system doesn't provide any support or assistance there. So, yep, there are issues still, but I think now the good thing is that you can talk about them, and people can identify as LGBT publicly, and they're not criminal. Legally, they're not meant to be discriminated against. There will always be discrimination, but the ability to be able to talk about something openly is really important. Big up to all of the people who helped with the bill, and particularly my particular heroes, who were the gay men who came out during the progress of the bill. Without them, it would not have happened.